Well, now that we're past Idalia, I want to give you an update on some of the other things going on in today's video. We've got more dangerous heat coming for almost the entire country. You can see that map on your screen just showing all of the reds pretty much covering the entire United States. Storms will ride over those ridges. That's why it might be a little bit cooler than average in the Great Lakes. Will that produce any severe weather? I'll have an update on that and the potential for a new hurricane that could pose a threat to the United States and Caribbean later down the line. Now, for now, more heat is building across the central and eastern United States this week. We've got plenty of 90s. We've got plenty of triple digits building here in portions of the southern and central parts of the United States for us as we go to start our week. Here we go towards Monday. Here are high temperatures into portions of the Midwest as well as upper Midwest. Plenty of 90s to go around, but the further you go towards the Dakotas and Minnesota, some southerly winds coming in could bring the temperatures on up closer to 100 degrees. Definitely life-threatening levels if you spend way too much time out in that heat or you do not have air conditioning for us here for sure. Dew points will also be high into portions of the eastern zones of this, this heat dome. This increases the heat index temperature, so if you live really anywhere from the front range of the Rockies, but especially here into the plains eastward, that's where we're going to have dew points in the 60s and 70s. When you have dew points near 70, they can raise a 90-degree temperature to feel more like 95 to 100, and a 100-degree temperature to definitely feel like 110 plus, so keep that in mind for us, that is another aspect that needs to be kept in mind, in addition to the heat that's already there. 90s will be widespread from the front range to the east coast for Labor Day. Here's your Monday afternoon temperatures. You can see we've got plenty of 100-degree readings continuing in the south central as well as the plains, with some, at least lower 90s here into portions of the eastern coast. And then here we go into our Tuesday, the heat persisting there, with plenty of 90s to be shared around. Notice the Dakotas starting to get a little bit of a break from west to east for us, but overall more of that southerly flow continuing here from the plains upward into the Midwest, and that will continue to bring those 90s and even up to 100-degree readings with higher heat indices there. Many spots will barely touch the 70s at night. This is another problem. Extended time will be spent from 90 degrees upward for us here during the day, and then you're barely touching 80 to, down into the mid-70s at night at best for us here from places like Texas, the Arklatex region, all the way up into places like Iowa, Illinois, where we also have a very extreme drought going on in those areas. This is just really getting old across the central part of the United States. So let's take it to a place like Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Your Monday high is going to be 98 degrees. When you factor in the humidity, it will not be all that bad on Monday heat index wise, so if you're going to have any yard work that you need to do this week, I would definitely do it on Monday, as it will be feeling like 99, but still make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids. Look at how the temperatures will be up above 100 for the rest of the week from Tuesday through Friday, and the heat index will be close to 105 to 110, especially around midweek. That is life-threatening. That is excessive heat warning level of heat for us here, which is, I'm sure, why these will be issued as we head throughout the week for many people across this part of the country. And just look, temperatures will be 10 to 20 degrees above average into the Midwest. Again, you can see some of those lighter, red colors almost touching the pink range for us there into portions of Minnesota and Wisconsin. This is as we head towards midweek. I'm showing you these graphics over and over really just to give you a good idea that there is going to be a lot of heat going on across portions of the eastern two-thirds of the country, but there is going to be some relief pushing on in, and you can see some of that there in the north-central tier. But overall, the heat will persist late week for the south, as well as new areas into portions of the east getting their share. There's going to be a low-pressure system pushing through, and the southerly flow out ahead of that is going to help to move some of that heat on up into the northeast, where we'll see some 10 to 20 degree above average levels for us there as well. And notice how that kind of lingers across the south, where the cold front just really isn't able to break the ridge. So let's talk about that cold front. As the northeast, we'll see plenty of highs of the 90s to finish the week for us here. Sorry, I wanted to show you this graphic first. You can see plenty of 90s up and along the east coast, as well as back on over towards the Great Lakes. We will begin to see, again, those temperatures in the 70s and 80s encroaching from the west with that cold front. So let's go ahead and move on over to this. A low-pressure system will ride over the ridge, impacting western zones before hitching eastward. So really just kind of hitching a ride, using the ridge to move right on up and over that ridge itself for us. So coming out of portions of California, moving on up into places of the Mountain West, before heading on over through the Great Lakes region and into the northeast. Now, let's look at the rainfall that this will bring to California, into portions of Nevada, all the way on up into Idaho and Montana, as well as far western Montana for us here. We could see some totals upwards of an inch of rain in some of these locations, which is, not that bad, especially considering we got Hillary just a few weeks ago in these areas, and that was a good sum of rain for us there. Now we're talking about California and Montana getting an additional 1 to 2 inches of rain, maybe some brief flooding out of this. Overall, it's pretty beneficial rain, though, especially as this moves east into the drought-stricken areas of the upper Midwest. And you can see some of these areas into portions of the Dakotas, Minnesota, as well as northern Wisconsin, getting 1 to 2 inches of rain being a common total for there as well. And that will continue as the storm pushes eastward. Eventually, this map just goes through Thursday. Here's your severe weather chances for September 4th through 8th, so over the course of the Labor Day week for us here. For your Labor Day itself, the best chance for severe weather is going to be coming off Montana and portions of eastern Wyoming, as well as into portions of western Dakotas, as well as portions of Nebraska. But as we go into our Tuesday and Wednesday, that shifts east into portions of the upper Midwest, as well as the Midwest. I do think that the chance of severe weather is going to turn a little bit higher as we go through portions of Missouri, right over the mid-Mississippi River Valley for us there, and over to the northeastern region. So as we go Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday, that's when the severe risk looks to just elevate a little bit and tap into that heat. But I do not think this is going to be necessarily any sort of outbreak of severe weather, just a chance for a little bit more of those gusty winds up to 60, 70 miles per hour, as well as some hail, which can certainly cause some damage and maybe a few tornadoes. So let's talk about the tropics now to finish this video. The tropics stay active. You can see a storm moving west-northwestward there over portions of the main development region in the Atlantic. That we're now in the peak of hurricane season, which is why these systems that move through the main development region pretty much develop in the blink of an eye every time. We also have these other systems just sitting around. Idalia, yes, just impacting Bermuda as a post-tropical system. We've also got Gert and Katia out there. Neither one of those is of concern. This 70% zone is the only actual concern that I have right now, again, as it pushes westward. And yes, portions of the Windward Islands for us here, you are in that red zone, and of course will be filled more into that red zone as this system continues its westward progression and the 7-day outline is closer to you. It is expected to slowly develop throughout the week. You can see a system there, 996 millibars, but the European model tends to underestimate the potential of these systems at times, and if it's showing a system, we need to be worried about a hurricane potentially developing as we head towards the midweek time frame. And then those in the Antilles as well as Hispaniola should monitor this as it moves that way late week. Again, the European model showing a track bringing it just northward of there, but other models, including the GFS, have this moving straight through the Lesser Antilles for us here and into portions of the Caribbean. That would be a pretty bad scenario because not only does that open the opportunity for this system to impact those islands as well as Puerto Rico, it also opens up the door especially for some sort of impacts into the Gulf as well as at least the east coast of the United States. But that's still a possibility with the way the system is moving now. You can see this is the last frame I can show you the European model before the model run runs out. But the contiguous United States should certainly have a close eye on this as we head towards mid-month as the system approaches the Bahamas. Hopefully some fronts will be coming off the coast right, and you can definitely see some of that wind energy there that could push this away, and that has been the overall trend that the models have shown. But nonetheless, we need to watch because it is peak hurricane season. These storms tend to have the mind of their own, it almost seems like, and any little shift in the forecast, and remember this is several days, in fact a couple weeks out, any time in that range, we need to watch out because it's not set in stone. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I would really appreciate it if you'd leave a like, go ahead and subscribe, and you can leave a comment or question down below.